I asked a couple people to come and just kind of divulge, I guess, a little of their words with us this evening, and or tonight and tomorrow night. Chester's going to talk tomorrow night a little bit, but I'm so glad to have Dale come. Dale's been a big part of me and my wife's life the last, oh gosh, 13, 14 years almost now. So, founder of Texas Brigades, you know what it is. You got brochures out there, you can tell you a little bit about it, you're gonna find out. But it's a great program, and Dale, the floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you, Derek. And first of all, thanks for the invitation, and compliments to Trevor and the cooks, whoever. I did the crawfish boil. That was quite a treat. You don't get that very often in West Texas. I live about an hour and a half west of here in a town called San Angelo, and my career was with Texas A&M Agri-Life Extension Service, working with the network of county agents and so forth throughout the state. And my role was a wildlife specialist. So as that, I gave a lot of county programs to every age group. I was a general practitioner in every sense of the word. I'd talk to Mrs. Smith's 4th grade class this afternoon, talk to the Lions Club tomorrow at lunch, and then drive from there to Childress, 230 miles away, to talk to 4-H leaders. So you were as busy, you could do as many programs as you had the time and the interest and the energy to do. There's that kind of demand, as I'm sure most of y'all can appreciate, for information on wildlife. But most of it, 98% of it, didn't require a PhD in wildlife management. Most of the programs were conservation, awareness, those types of things, typically probably the things you're making out of your podcast and so forth. And one day I was driving from the Lions Club at San Angelo. I gave a program called Calls of the Wild, where I imitate bird calls and different calls, and proved to be pretty popular. In fact, it was one of those deals where you kind of wish you'd never started it because there was no end to it. You'd go somewhere and you'd I'd go to a Kiwanis Club at Abilene, Texas, and I'd show them how to bugle like an elk, and the two meetings next door were like, what in the heck's going on in there? They hear all this noise. And so I'd always ask for somebody. I had all my calls in a tackle box, toolbox, and I'd say, I'd always need a volunteer to carry my equipment back to the pickup for me. And somebody'd raise their hand. I said, because I don't want to walk out of this room after all these noises have been made and they're going to identify with me, kind of thing. How many of you know what the state bird of Texas is? How many non-Texans know what the state bird of Texas is? The mockingbird. Anybody know what the Latin name of the mockingbird is? Mimus polyglottus. Mimus polyglottus. What does it mean to mime? Mimic or copy. Poly, many. Point to your glottis without being obscene. So the mockingbird mimics many voices. And go on as an introduction about how you can call just about any kind of animal up if you know what sounds to make, and if you're in the right place at the right time, you can call just about anything. Any of y'all turkey hunters? Any of you have a diaphragm call with you? Okay, give it one here. Anybody got a $100 bill with them? Because you can make a turkey call out of anything. If any of you got a $100 bill, I'll show you how to make a turkey call out of it, and I won't keep it. I won't keep it unless you tell me I can. Anybody got 100? I know what Trevor's thinking. Will the 20 do? 20 won't make as clear a note. You got a $100 bill? Well, I'll tell you what. Write the last 4 digits of the serial number down, so there won't be any chicanery up here. And I'm not going to try. Make sure somebody sees it, because I'm not going to keep it unless you tell me I can have it. You didn't write down the last 4 digits. Look at the last 4 digits of the serial number and tell somebody, or write it down, because I don't want to take it from you unless you tell me I can have it. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Just the last 4 digits, okay. All right, now I'll show you, whoops, excuse me. I'll show you how to make a turkey call out of anything. Of course, you're trying to sound like a lovesick hen about this time of year. I generally always take the precaution of asking, are there any lovesick hens in the group? Seeing none, You're trying to make the very seductive yelp of a hen turkey. Goes something like this. Now, whose money was this? You try it on this side. I've already breathed on this side, but you try it on that side. Oh, you're not holding your mouth right.
Nope.
Not holding your mouth right. Now look at that $100 bill, the last 4 digits of which are 4990. Is that the same $100 bill you gave me about 2 minutes ago?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I said, is that the same $100 bill you gave me? That's a verbal contract in the state of Texas, legal in most states.
It was working.
Oh, no, it wasn't here. I'm going to get back to you because I'll forget. That's the importance of critical thinking. Ability to discern the information that's said and be able to think, now, is he pulling my leg or was this really true? And if you were charged with teaching conservation education to youths, why youths? Why teenagers? That's right. And in just a minute, we're going to have what I call a silver bullet, an inspirational quotation that's going to address that very situation right now. So I guess I'll take this opportunity to say, when we do a Texas Brigades camp, and I started with the Bob White Brigade, this will be our 30th year for Bob White Brigade. So before most of y'all were born, and I'll tell you this, if y'all came to Warren Ranch starting about July the 1st, and spent any time during the week of the month of July, you'd be at a Texas Brigades camp here, because 3 out of the 9 camps are held right here at Warren Ranch. And Charles Adams, the manager, just basically turns over the whole process to his whole camp and everything. And that's because we've left a good impression in Charles Adams's mouth, because his daughter, Lantern is her nickname. I always give the kids nicknames, so Shelby is her real name. And Charles was very impressed with the product he got after we'd had her for 5 days. And so we basically have an open invitation to work with the Warren Ranch over here, and we're very proud of that and very guarded of that reputation. But how many of you were in 4-H? Anybody? In 4-H, all right, outstanding. How many of you were in the military? Anybody? Any veterans here? All right, what branch? All right. No such thing as a retired Marine or a former Marine, is there? You're always a Marine. I'm not a veteran. I have a lot of respect, and as you'll see, we patterned some things from the military, and especially the Marine Corps. And if any of you ever been to a group called Toastmasters? Or ever heard it? You've been to a group? Or are you a Toastmaster? Are there any Toastmasters in here? I strongly encourage you to attend a Toastmasters meeting. In 1983, I was graduating with my PhD at Texas Tech, and I already knew at that time that I was going to be taking a job with Oklahoma State University as an extension specialist or range management specialist. But I had gastric distress at the thought of standing up and talking in front of people. And I mean, it was explosive at times. And so I could not make the butterflies fly in formation. And somebody introduced me to a Toastmasters club. And I went to that Toastmasters club, and right away I thought, I got to do this. So when I moved to Stillwater, Oklahoma, Toastmasters is a club that helps you with your thinking, speaking, and listening skills. It's not where you just sit around and drink, hold your toddy finger up and drink like that. It's not that kind of Toastmasters. But when I moved to Stillwater in 1983, in 1985, I saw in the paper one day that they were starting a new Toastmasters club called the Daybreakers Toastmasters Club. Met at 6:30 on Tuesday morning. And I bit the bullet and said, I got to do that. And I encourage any of you to do that. Go to a Toastmasters club and you will see immediately, if your job requires communication. Whose job does not require communication? All of them do. If your job does not involve visiting with the media or being able to stand up, being able to carpe diem. What does carpe diem mean? Seize the opportunity, seize the day. You ever heard that in the Marine Corps? I bet you did. So we're taking youths, high school kids, and trying to teach them life skills. And this came about because I realized that there were certainly shortcomings in my life, and I wanted to be able to help prepare tomorrow's generation with better skills to give them a better toehold on life, maybe than what some of us had, kind of thing. And that was the inception of the Bible Hop Brigade. And it has portions of 4-H in it. It has portions of the United States Marine Corps, and it has portions of Toastmasters. So we're teaching using quail, in my case, carrying leadership development, critical thinking, team building on the backs of the bobwhite quail. And that was the form and function. You ever heard form ever follows function? Did you take a comparative anatomy class, or is anybody else? I did. And that was one of the classes that separated the top menace from the big bass, was a comparative anatomy. It was a tough class. You had to know every muscle, every bone, And the old instructor had very bushy eyebrows and a dry sense of humor. And he would always say, what is its structure? What is its function? Form ever follows function. And so everything I tell people at the Bob White Brigade, and again, we've got a total of 8 other camps, our total of 9 camps total. Derek is involved with Coastal Brigade, which came online 5 years ago or so. And Trevor's been involved with a number of the camps, but I think he still works with the North Texas Buckskin Brigade, which is held right here. And Trevor is a product of I'm sure he's had other great influences in his life, but we claim him. He's done a great job, and I'm going to ask Trevor at this point in time to deliver an inspirational quote. Now, several of you were distributed inspirational quotes, and I'll call upon you to do those, and you need to follow it in the form ever follows function that Trevor's going to do. And I'll start by saying mine. My name is Dale Rollins. You got to give your name, you got to tell where you're from, your silver bullet is, recite that, and then tell what it means to you. And this is the kids' introduction to public speaking. Being able to stand up, speak from the diaphragm, project their voice, things that kids don't learn and most are not prepared to do. And so my name is Dale Rollins. I'm from San Angelo, Texas. My silver bullet is, I had no shoes and I complained until I met a man who had no feet. And that's by an anonymous author. And what it means to me is, when you feel the urge for self-pity, get out of it. Look around. You're going to find somebody very quickly that has a much tougher row to hoe in life than what you've got. Man up and move on. And then we punctuate that with a war cry. Ah! Form ever follows function. Wonder what in the world the war cry does. It makes that individual realize, number one, again, speaking from the diaphragm, you got to be able to talk above the people that are always carrying on a conversation at the back. You got to be unafraid to use both lungs. And I'm going to ask Trevor, if he will, again, we call those silver bullets. They end in I can. They're not in aluminum cans, they're I cans. And Trevor, would you share your silver bullet with us that I gave you?
Yes, sir. Impromptu here. One generation. My name is Trevor Dickshot. I'm from Rollins, Texas. I've known Dr. Rod for about 17 years now. Been very fortunate to have this individual in my life. But my silver bullet is one generation plants a tree and another enjoys the shade. And what that means to me, I think you can look at it in a number of different directions. But I'm gonna go this direction. You've got a lot of individuals here who are helping educate, helping push conservation, legacies, education, those types of things. You've got a lot of people that are lacking in the education, lacking the understanding. We had this conversation yesterday about just the lack of understanding of what we're doing here, trying to preserve, educate, conserve, and those are the shade tree hunters there. So I think the people that get out there gung-ho, seize the day, planting the trees, I think we need a lot more of those. Unfortunately, we're kind of fighting a losing battle, but it's these types of programs, these types of organizations that help us thrive and succeed. That's an anonymous quote. So thank y'all.
Good job. And if he did that satisfactorily, he would have traded in his name tag, which at this point in the game is a Ziploc bag with a chunk of coal in it. he would have traded it in for his official brigade's name tag, because we're watching Trevor change from a chunk of coal to a diamond. So what's the process to take a chunk of coal to a diamond? Heat, pressure, and time. We only have 5 days. We have 100 hours. So that means we have to ratchet up the heat and ratchet up the pressure. So we put kids under a very strenuous day. If you were here at the first day of the North Texas Buckskin Brigade, you had already done KP duty tonight. You'd be working on various lectures or hearing various PowerPoints presentations. You'd be doing leadership exercises. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, you get to go to bed. But at 6:15, you're on the parade ground out here marching to conservation cadences. Now this is where, again, from the military, I love cadences. I don't know why, but I just love them. So I'm gonna give you one, and this is in an antiphonal response. If you hear a Bob White whistle in the morning, that is going to evoke another quail to answer. So when I call out, you respond. Are we clear?
Yes.
Say Crystal.
Yes, sir.
Crystal.
Crystal.
Are we clear?
Yes.
Crystal, all right. Let me think of one of them. A Bob White quail has many needs. That we can do much better than that. All together now. A Bob White quail has many needs. Insects, greens, and forb seeds. On your next outdoor excursion. Note how they need interspersion. Sound off Bob White. Y'all say Bob White. Sound off Bob White, Brigade, Bob White, Brigade. Okay, that's how we do it. Anyway, we'd be singing those cadences in the morning, and you would be impressed. I tell people, if you spend a half day with us, you'll be impressed. If you spend the day with us, you'll be amazed. If you spend the night with us and the next day, you will become an indentured servant to the Texas Brigades. You can ask Derek and Trevor all about that, because they are good examples of that. So, silver bullets. We got to motivate kids. We got to get them used to speaking in front of their peers. Got to make those butterflies fly in formation. So you've seen an example. Gray, you had you talking about predators out there, and I always tell my students there are no politics like predator politics. So share with us some insight from a guy named Aldo Leopold.
My name's Gray Thornton. I'm from Manhattan, Montana. Only the mountain has lived long enough to listen objectively to the howl of the wolf. And what that means to me,
It's by whom? I already said it, but okay, Aldo Leopold. And what does it mean to you?
sexual conservationists. You look at our country right now and how polarized we are. And we need to look at those that have lived long enough to see all the ebbs and flows, and the tides of the politics, and to think objectively on how we all can work together, despite our differences, to move from a football standpoint, the ball down the field, from a conservation standpoint, what we want to have. Wild places, wild species, wild and clean water, and fresh air.
Okay. All right. What is the key word in that silver bullet? Objectively. Objectively, in an unbiased, we're all biased, but we can at least listen and be objective when an argument is presented to us. And if you watch Fox News versus MSNBC, you'll see both ends of the continuum. I was once told that there's only two things that cannot be molded, that's dry dung and rotten wood. So I encourage people to either be moist dung or carvable wood. All right, Paul, share your silver bullet with us.
All right, my name is Paul Buzinski. I'm from Toledo, Ohio. My silver bullet is If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. To me, that means a lot. Life's hard enough, and if you're dumb, it's a lot harder, so educate yourself. I had this conversation with Andrew and Chester earlier. We learn all we can about wildlife, wilderness, and we're never all going to be master hunters, fishermen, conservationists, but the more we learn, the more effective it is, able to teach people, able to spread our message. We're all here for the same reason. That's what that means to me, and that is by Derek Bach.
Oh, no. Trevor, do y'all do face-offs in your camp?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Would you mind doing a face-off with Paul and explaining the form and function of that? If somebody doesn't measure up. Now we have just demonstrated to Paul that he has two lungs and how to again project his voice. So again, typically, let me just ask you this. When you were 14 or 15, how many of you stood up and spoke boldly and proudly in front of groups anywhere from 15 to 150 people? None of us did. Again, it was a new experience for all of us. And most people have a greater fear of having to speak in public than they do of dying. So again, training the young people, I have bird dogs, and just being able to watch those bird dogs and know that really I don't train them, I just give them the opportunity to express their innate potential and then stand back and watch them and say, what good dogs they are. All right, he pointed it at you, Andrew, so share your silver bullet with us.
My name is Andrew Austin. I'm from Beaumont, Texas. My silver bullet is, gardens are not made by singing, oh, how beautiful, and sitting in the shade. To me, that means, I care a lot about the natural world. I think our prairies and our ecosystems are so beautiful, but they have to be managed, and we have to get out there and spread the good word of conservation. We can't just sit there and, talk about how beautiful it is. It means action, getting out there and doing it. All right, this is the worst part for me.
You did well. You did well. Good job. And the fly fisherman from the coast, I can't recall your first name.
Eric.
Eric, share yours with us, please.
My name is Eric Trout. I'm from Galveston, Texas, and my silver bullet is, you can tell when you're on the right road, it's uphill. What that means to me is that life without challenge is pretty pointless. And you need challenge, you need adversity to be a better human and move forward.
No. Now, a Marine, I'm not going to say a former Marine, because again, you're always Semper Fi, you're always a Marine. Your drill sergeant would not accept that. So give us a real war cry. Get your wings. All right, you got to get those wings up and bring them down. That's where you get the compression for that power stroke. Thank you. See, Laura, did I give you one?
You did.
Okay. I think she's excited to share it with us.
I am. So, I am Laura Lindsay. I currently reside in Carrollton, Texas. America's good fortune can't possibly last longer than her natural resources, which was wisely said by Will Rogers. And what that means to me is that we have to come to an understanding that regardless of what your personal, political, or otherwise attitude is, you're not going to be able to live without water. You're not going to be able to live if Mother Earth goes away. So we need to pay attention, and we need to be conscious, and we need to be focused, and we need to work together to come to reasonable compromises that ensure that we have our natural resources now and going forward for our future.
Oh, no. Oh. Get those wings up. Come on, bring it down.
Oh, please.
That's a little bit better. Now, whenever I find a cadet that is a little hesitant, and believe me, even on day 3, some of them are still doing this. I mean, they're petrified. And I appreciate that. I give them a little trick. I give them a quarter.
Do I have to hold it between my knees?
No. You just, whenever you're speaking, you just try to rub the head off, George Washington, you just try to rub the head off that quarter. And what does that allow you to do with your nervous energy? focus that nervous energy. So I've got it down here by my hands. I'm not being distractive to my audience, but I'm squeezing the dog pee out of old George Washington down there, but you don't notice it kind of thing. Just a little trick of public speaking. Okay. And then, sorry, what? You're good. You may sit down. Although once you're called upon, you can be called upon again.
I'm ready.
And your colleague over here, and again, Camille, I'd love to hear your silver bullet.
My name is Camille Null. I am from Seadrift, Texas. And my silver bullet is, there is a great deal of difference between the eager man who wants to read a book, and the tired man who wants a book to read.
Who's that by?
G.K. Chesterton. I've been thinking, trying to envision what this means to me, or internalize what this means to me.
Are you the eager man or the tired man?
I'm a tired man.
We don't like tired people. We're going to motivate you.
And okay, so all right, give me a little more insight to it and a way to look at it differently. I am a learner. I am constant. I love and I crave learning. I read for pleasure more so than learning these days. But as most of y'all have realized, I talk to learn more. I want to learn more about you. I want to learn more about what affects you and other people around you. So when I think of it from a conservation standpoint or from an outdoors standpoint, I want to know what keeps somebody from being more active in the outdoors and getting out of doors. And I want to help them see a way that they can enjoy it.
That's right. Inspire, get a good breath. Oh, good job, good job. I've got to come back to Laura.
Oh my God.
Because, Laura, who was the author of your quotation? Would you explain to the Gale Force twins who Will Rogers is? They've never heard of him.
Yes, they have.
No, they have. I'll bet you never heard of Will Rogers, have you? And I bet you hadn't either. So, they don't have a clue.
So he was an actor and a cowboy? I mean, what else do you want me to tell you?
He was basically, who would we equate him with today? He was back in the 1930s. He was a commentator kind of thing, a political humorist kind of thing. And what's so wonderful about him and Aldo Leopold is their quotations taken from the 20s and 30s could be on today's newspaper and would be just as appropriate. Okay, Chester.
My name is Chester Moore. I am from the swamps of Southeast Texas in the city of Orange. And my quote is Aldo Leopold, who is the author of Sand County Almanac and one of the great works. And my silver bullet is, the urge to comprehend must precede the urge to reform. And to me, this means that we have a knee-jerk reaction. We don't want to change something in the system of conservation, rather. We need to deeply understand the issue at hand instead of taking an emotional approach. For example, we're talking about grizzly and politics in Montana and elsewhere. And the idea of being able to say, okay, we don't like people killing those without understanding the dynamics in terms of human predator-prey relations, biology, and things like that. I think it's crucial that we have a comprehension because we all have a voice and things like social media, other things. We think we can just shout at it and make it. But reform that's going to work in terms of the natural world that's also colliding with people is when we have a deep comprehension. I think if we all take a time to commit to studying, learning, and having a broad approach to this, we'll be better off in terms of our conservation efforts.
No. Oh, come on. Reach back and get it. All right, that's a little bit better. Yeah, like I said, You got to get the wings up. That's the intake stroke in a 4-stroke cycle, so that you have the compression. I see, I forget your name. Turner, would you share your silver bullet with us, please?
Yeah.
You two Gale Force twins were hiding out. Y'all must have known there were going to be assignments because y'all were late to the show.
My name's Turner, Rollins from Bozeman, Montana. And my silver bullet is that the largest room in the world is the room for improvement. To me, I'm a Christian. That means that there's only one perfect person who's ever lived, Christ, and that is unachievable. But in order to strive for that, it's a lifelong journey. And the steps taken towards perfection are the steps that will allow you to grow. And will be the harder path, but that's the warrior's path, and the path to continuous improvement and a life well spent. All right, wings up.
Oh, no. We had some exhaust. You need a ring job or something because we didn't have the compression that we need. So really bring them down. That's a little bit better. Okay, good job. So practice makes Practice makes improvement. Practice makes improvement. That's why, Laura, would you please give us your silver bullet? Like I said, you're not immune. You can be asked more than once. Best speaking voice. You'll always hear me saying, best speaking voice. Project.
Yes. My silver bullet is America's good fortune can't possibly last longer than her natural resources, spoken by Will Rogers, who's an amazing man with a lot of intention and focus and understood that we cannot survive without our own natural resources. And if we continue to destroy them or ignore them, we will ultimately end ourselves. Would you like to do it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, wasn't that so much better? Yeah. Okay, is that all the silver bullets, or do I have one other one out there somewhere? They've all been fired. Okay. I hope you can appreciate, and I have all those. You can look at our Texas Brigade's website. I also teach a class for adults. Adults come to me at the end of the 5 days, and they see the curriculum that the kids have been exposed to, and they say, "Boy, I wish it'd been something like this when I was a kid." And I heard that for about 20 years, and I developed basically a Bob White Brigade for adults, but I can't work them 18 hours a day. So it's called Quail Masters, and I have 40 students. Students are ranging from probably 20 to 75. That'll be meeting here in about 3 weeks for 3 days in Abilene, and then 3 days in Hebronville, and 3 days up at Boone Pickens' ranch, and 3 days somewhere else. So we tour the state talking about quail and quail habitats and seeing properties that most people never get to see. But they have to go through the same curriculum as far as leadership development as those 14 and 15-year-olds do. Why? Because when they're through, I want them to be evangelists for conservation. And just because they're 50 years old doesn't mean that they're not still like this if it comes time to deliver the message, kind of thing. Derek, I'd welcome any comments that you or Trevor have as far as y'all's odyssey in brigades.
No, I just want to thank you for starting and helping continue leading this legacy with Texas Brigade. I know it's a Texas thing, but it hasn't been replicated, and that's a sincere form of flattery, and hopefully you can find something back where you're from to get involved with youth and leadership. That is our future. And that's one thing I've been striving for 20 years working in the state of Texas, is trying to provide those opportunities, and thanks to people like that. So.
Trevor, you have any closing comments for us? Again, you're one of our shining stars, so we're very proud of you.
I've been involved in this program since 2005. I was 13 years old, and really changed my life. And I was a part of the state, Dr. Rollins, one of his great friends, Dr. Eichhorst, a veterinarian in kind of Southeast Texas. That was kind of my he's definitely one of my shining stars, my leaders. We call them our giants. There's a handful of people that really impacts your life and really gets you involved and kind of find your passion, find your calling, and this is what it's all about. I'm honored to just kind of Derek asked me to come up here and help. I knew the ranch, knew the layout of this place, and being involved and getting to know these types of people. It's all about resources, it's all about networking. That's really kind of about what it's really about. You never know who you're sitting next to, what kind of impact they might be able to reach out to. And that's kind of how I've really tried to kind of push my life, push my stride through this program, and just kind of just education and helping out others and getting these kids involved. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's like I was bullet about planting trees, and some people sitting on the shade tree. They're not going to know anything about getting out and planting trees if they're not out there doing it with their hands dirty, and that's what it's all about. One of the best programs out there, maybe 4-H program, way better than any FFA program that I've ever experienced. That's come from a former extension agent and former ag teacher, Texas brigades, and we've got other states that have kind of modeled different programs and camps, and that's something really to be truly honored and privileged to be part of. So.
For those of you near Pennsylvania, I guess Ohio is border Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has, I think, a total of 5 camps now, and they've come the closest of any state of really capturing the spirit of what we do. We had some people with Quail Unlimited back in 1998 that came and audited our camp for 3 days. And they left, and I didn't hear anything out of them about, are we starting a new effort over there? And so about 3 weeks later, I called them and said, well, what'd y'all think of the camp? It was a great camp, but we don't have kids like that in the Carolinas. I said, you've got kids just like that. You just haven't challenged them, and you haven't found the team that will work with you hard enough and long enough to change that lump of coal into a diamond. Yes.
So we sent our kids, or my oldest is she's a junior in college right now, but we forced her into going to, I think the first camp she went to was the Watermelon Baby. And she's an introvert to us. And we dropped them off and left. And when we came back, the first kid to get up and do the silver bullet went through that and got hooked. And I was my wife and I said, there is any way there. She did it. And not only did she do it, it blew us away. And then from there, because of the requirements of their books and stuff like that, part of their situation with my kids, since the Farm Bureau and different agencies there at the county sponsored them, then we have to get up at the Farm Bureau banquet and talk. And they've done that, get up there, and it just blows people away. Yep. Then the kids get up and talk about them and do a good job. It's because of this.
Well, we call those silver bullets ammunition for life. And they can use them in a variety of ways, but they're encouraged to go out and conduct educational programs for the public, or do podcasts, or do whatever to help spread the word about conservation. I'll leave you with this. Each night we do a Vespers program. I've had the pleasure of doing the Vespers program on the last day, day 4. And day 4 is when we make diamonds out of coal. Day 4 is at the end. It's the 4th day that we've been going 18 to 20 hours a day. Whoever was cocky on day 1, they're so dang tired they're not cocky on day 4. They're worn out. They're pliable at this point. But I give a program called Susie's 12-Point Plan for Success. And it's based on life lessons that I learned from my bird dog, Susie. I'm not going to bore you with all 12 of them. You got to come to a brigades camp to get that. But I'll tell you what number 1 is. Number 1 is always, I stress always, hunt with good dogs. Always surround yourself with people that are smarter and faster and brighter than you. You're going to look good just by comparison, and you're going to be quicker and faster in the long run because you hung with people like that. So I'd leave you with that. It sounds like, boy, a number of you would make great covey leaders, school leaders, whatever the collective noun is that we use for a particular brigade. And so I'll be expecting to hear that Derek signed you up for Coastal Brigade or whatever the case might be. But if you choose to, again, we do involve adults. They come at no charge unless you count lost sleep. And I tell people after day 3, you'll get by on adrenaline. We only condone 3 recreational drugs at a brigades camp. That's caffeine, Visine, and adrenaline. But they'll keep you going the last 48 hours. So I welcome any of you to learn more, texasbrigades.org, or attend one of the camps, and we'd love to see you. With that, if I can answer any questions, I'll be happy to.